Hey there, magic makers. April here on Natural Witchery. Happy 2023. Wow, I have so many creative projects that I want to do this year. How about you? I thought I would take you on a little spin through all my grimoires that I'm working on, my journals, all of the magic that I'm making, and the magical planning that I'm doing. How many of you out there do magical planning? I do. So I thought I'd just share some of this with you and talk to you about it and take you into my word of the year as well. Let me know if you do a word of the year. Grab a beverage. I've got all that pile that you saw on the thumbnail out there ready in my spirit room, and we will get to talking about this. Before we jump into it though, I want to let you know that when you sign up for my newsletter down below, you get access to my learning library where there's freebies there, and that's kind of something that I'm growing over a period of time. So check that out if you're interested. Unfortunately, in previous years, I kind of just put everything in the same journal and I would make my way through. So my journal would have herbal recipes in there and little tidbits of wisdom and knowledge and, you know, sort of my grimoire stuff as well, folklore. There's just kind of all sorts of stuff in there. Then I tried dividing it a little bit into two journals. That didn't work. My tarot grimoire, however, had filled up and I needed a new one. So I needed to get something different. Last year, I started collecting different books that I could use for this. And so I'm going to share with you the beginnings of those books, the initial entries that I have in there, and kind of how I'm dividing this all up. So my hope is that in coming years, I will have a compendium of books with my own written knowledge that I can reference in some logical fashion, because what I had was chaos. Most of my magical practice comes from nature, just naturally what's going on around me. And so I wanted to take all of the bits of folklore and little spells that I've worked that I feel work for me and the different plant allies that I work with. And I really wanted to create something nice that housed all of that. So I bought this book in Sevilla, Spain last fall, and it's just perfect. It's about the size of a piece of paper. It's actually a little bit longer. I love the size of it. It's got a soft cover, which eventually I'll do something creative with. But for now, there's room for me to put an index in the front. A table of contents in the front and an index in the back. And again, this is for, I'm trying to get to the pages that are done. I have a couple pages done in here, not much. Just started on this. So here I have started by putting the trees in, the druidic trees. And I started this one page with oak here. And you can see that I've got some handwork and there's the ogham for it. And some printed things as well as the Latin name, because I like to put the Latin names in of the plants. I was a horticulturist, and so that's what I went to school for. So I appreciate that. And what I've done, because I plan to do all of the trees, is I'm just doing a page. So here I have this basic, and I'll have some folklore right here or something else, I don't know what. And then I've put the names of all of the trees in. All 20 trees are already in here, so I've got a place for them. So, you know, when I'm ready, I can go, oh, I feel like doing apple. This is perfect. I'm going to work on the apple page. The other thing I wanted to share with you is because I like my pages to sit flat in my book. Let me know if anybody else is like this. I don't know. Can you see this here? I've gone ahead and I've cut out pages periodically. I think every like 5 or 6 pages, because I know that I'm going to be gluing things in. And I really want this to lay flat. So I've gone ahead and removed some of those and marked these pages ahead of time. And then I have this page back here that I've done as well. One of my favorite plant allies is rose hips. And I will have a video coming out really soon on gathering rose hips and working with them. And so you can see I've done some handwork here. And this is printed. This is printed. And then there's a little space here for me to do something else. And then I've got room for, any kind of folklore that I want to put in here. I am saving my recipes themselves for this book right here. This was gifted to me this year by my mother-in-law for Yule. I'm really excited about it. It's an 8.5 by 8.5 watercolor book. I love the fact that it's square. How many of you like square books? It's square It's got this nice watercolor paper so that when I do put my herbal recipes in here, I can watercolor on it. Again, I will be cutting pages out as well so that it lays flat. It's also going to be perfect for drying things in because the type of paper it is. So I'm going to be transferring all of the herbal recipes that I've gathered, like the different types of infusions and oil mixture recipes that I have in different books. I've written down, like, even the books that I've used that are kind of like my shelf books, they all have notes in them, and I just want to take and make my own concise recipe book. I want to take all those scraps of paper and get better about recording things. I do a lot of sacred incense and oil mixtures, and I just really want to have one place to have them all, and that's going to be this book. I look forward to sharing those recipes with you this year, and also, you know, sharing the book as it comes together, because I think it's going to be really fun. This is my tarot grimoire, and I have a ton of stuff cut out and ready to go in here. I actually made this cover last year. I have a video on how to make this cover that I will link down below if you're interested in doing something like this. I love the fact that this is spiral bound. This paper is okay for watercolor, and it actually is perforated so I can take out pages when I need to in here. I'm not going to go deep into this tarot grimoire. If you're interested in my tarot stuff, you can go over to Tarot and Witchery, my other channel. There's a link down below for that, and I'll talk about it. But I did want to show you my tarot journals here for this year. So I bought this journal to do my tarot journaling, like my daily tarot journaling in. And it even has a space like at the beginning of every month to put other stuff in it. But this is really a book for doing moon work. And I'm finding that I don't like it. How many of you do that? You start something off, you think it's going to be great, and then you go, it's not right. I'm going to continue to use this for charting magical work, because like when you look at it, it's really cool. This is the Dream Fruit Almanac for Earthlings by Elizabeth Russell, by the way. It's got the moons for the year, like all charted out with the days. You can actually put on here, like if you start a magical working, you can make notes, and it's done in this wheel form, which is really neat. You've got a couple pages at the beginning of the month that ask you to look at different things. It's got, you know, this is the word for the month, which is kind of neat. So it's really neat, but I just want to use it for magical workings and make notes on like when I'm at my altar and what I'm doing and how those workings are coming out. So that's what I'm doing with that. Instead, I'm going back to this book right here, which was my tarot journal last year. And you can see it's just, I used to do it month by month. So it'd have like, you know, I would have the different month that I would start out with, and I would move forward through, and I'd mark the books that I read, and I'd put everything in with my spreads and everything, but it was becoming a little bit cumbersome. So I feel like I've kind of come to this, like, here's what I'm willing to do by doing this, because I really loved just doing the daily pull and putting it in here. It was great because I get up in the morning and I pull a card. That's what I do, and I write it down. This is a dot journal, and so what I will be doing this year is I will be going back to setting up the month ahead. But I think what I'm going to do is just put, this was a spirit animal that I worked with, so it's just different stuff that I did in here. And if you want to see how I do that, look on my other channel, because I will go into depth on how I'm going to set this up, and I'll probably have like a video on the setup itself. In my journals, I just have all of these little quips, these little like one-liners that I've come up with over the years, or like two-liners that I've come up with over the years. And I wanted to make something that I could share with my kids, like where I could make something that was a keepsake that's just fun to decorate, and I'm probably going to print off the majority of what I do for this so that I can just cut it and paste it inside of the book as I go. It is a dot journal. I do like dot journals because they help me get things straight. But this has an index in it, so I can use that, and the pages are numbered down here in the corner. And my idea is just to create a keepsake, to take all of those sayings and put them in here and press flowers or whatever it is I want to do and put it in here so that I have something to pass on to my children and my grandchildren, because legacy is something that I'm really thinking about. How many of you are thinking about leaving behind something for your family, like something about your magical world? And so that is my intention for this book. And I actually want to plan one day a month where I do something in here. So I know that would only be 12 things, but I might get more. Who knows? Don't despise small beginnings. All right. Next, just a couple journals really quickly. This is my business journal where I like lay flats. I like things that I can turn like this. So this is my business journal where I put down my business ideas and mark strategies or monies that I'm making in my tarot business and my magical offerings. If you didn't know it, I do offer magical classes and readings, and there's links for that below. Okay, personal journal. This is my personal journal here, and it's really simple. It's just a dot journal, but I think it's really important to have something where you can just gush, just put it down on paper, get it out of you if you need to. All right. And then this right here, this is huge. And I got this so that I could do larger things and then cut them out and put them in. Originally, I was thinking I might even have these bound into a book. You can see here, I'm working on the astrological wheel here and putting all of the traits in, and then there'll be the symbols in here as well. So getting there, but I like having these big pieces of paper so that you can cut and do whatever you want and maybe cut it out and then put it in your journal. Part of what makes every year magical for me is magical planning. It's really getting into sort of planning some of the things that I'm gonna do, what my focuses are gonna be. How many of you do this? Do you get at the beginning of the year and you're like, wow, what are my magical practices gonna be this year? And so I start out by listening for a word, and usually the word comes to me by the beginning of January. And it's kind of usually something pretty active, like integrate or joyfulness or something like that feels a lot more active. But this year I came to a completely different word, and it's sort of interesting. My word for the year is more. I know that's really bizarre, but follow me on this one. My word for the year is more, because I sat down to journal about, kind of making my lists of what I wanted to do this year. And there was a lot of less of this. I want to do less of this. And I personally, as a magical principle, I don't really like taking away. I feel like that is, it creates a lot of resistance, a lot of magical resistance to try to remove things rather than to move towards things, or to create new pathways, new magical pathways towards things that are more resonant with who I am, that kind of vibe with where I'm at. And it really allows magical flow to go to something. And so as I went through this, I thought, man, I'm really on this sort of subtracting mindset. And it's no wonder I'm feeling, because I don't know about you, but 2022 was freaking hard, okay? It was just really hard. Every step felt hard won for me. I didn't take ground, but it felt like it was a battle. And I really wanted this year to be different. And I do feel like it is very much different. It is different this year. It does feel really good and really flowing. There's a lot of astrological aspects this year. Jupiter is in a great place. We have all planets direct here at the beginning of the year. So there's a lot of really great things helping us to move forward. So more, my word more. As I was meditating on this, I felt like what I got a vision of was the fact that things with more mass have more gravitational pull. So, and that's a very basic understanding of gravitational pull and how it works. And so my idea was to add to myself, was to really direct my energies into creating more mass in the areas that I wanted to be attracting towards me. So my word for the year is more. I put my word in my planner, and this is my planner for this year. Last year I had a Hobonichi Weeks, and this year I have a Wonderland 222, and it's the A6, so it's really small, but you can see here's my word for the year, more. And then I had these catchphrases that I wanted to funnel my energy into. They are anchor points for the year that I have created. And the first one is physical vibrancy. A lot of us are like, this year I'm gonna get fit, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna exercise every day, and all these things are great, but really what I want is physical vibrancy, and there's so much involved in that for me. There's good food, there's exercise, there's breath work, there's meditation. All of that is linked to physical vibrancy. So when I say more physical vibrancy, I know that I have a touchstone point where I can check in. I can really say, like, how does this align with physical vibrancy? How am I adding to my gravitational density, my magical gravitational density, in order to create physical vibrancy and create a life that draws activities and so forth that create physical vibrancy within my being? The next one is thoughtful inputs. I want to be mindful about what I'm reading, what I'm seeing, even what I'm talking about or what I'm listening to, because a lot of times when you get into conversations with people, I just want to be careful about what I'm listening to. Am I listening to gossip? Am I listening to negativity? Then I'm going to be cultivating negativity. I'm going to be adding that to myself. So again, just being super mindful of my inputs, whether that's food or screen time or the books that I read or what I do in nature or who I hang out with and how much time I spend doing each one of those things. That's where thoughtful inputs really came to mind for me. Of course, I have nature. It's important to me that I'm cultivating my connection to the outdoors and to my bardic path. I want to be reading omens this year more, really getting into natural omens, and that means getting into nature. But all of these kind of overlap. Like if you put all of these different words on top of each other, there's going to be overlap. So that's part of my thoughtful input, like, is being in nature. It is about allowing myself to get out there and move my body, which again is about physical vibrancy, right? So all of these things sort of touch on one another, feed on one another, and strengthen one another in the ways that they overlap. Nature is so important to me. And so, part of my magical planning this year was thinking about what trees I want to plant on the property this year, what herbs I want to cultivate, what plant allies do I really want to form a relationship with this year? That's going to be about my thoughtful inputs, about my nature time, and about so much more about creating that space where I am fusing together the elements like an alchemist to create the magic elixir that I am partaking of throughout the year in order to be the person that I really want to be. Creative expression, very important to me. This video is about all the journals that I have and the different grimoires that I'm creating and the different herbal products that I want to be creating. So creation, I'm such a creative person. I always say everybody is creative in some way, but I really love to be creating. I have an Aries sun and I'm just a fire starter. I love to create things. I love to make things. So it's really important for me to be conscious that I'm doing creative expression and not just videos like this, but getting into my books, drawing, painting, even just crafting things out in the wild, making fairy houses out in the forest out here with found objects. These are things that I want to be doing. There's a part of my creative expression. And it also helps me cultivate my time in nature. It helps me to create thoughtful inputs because now I'm researching the plants that I want to be creating a relationship with, so on and so forth. All of these just, again, overlap. Meaningful connection. Thoughtful inputs and meaningful connection, I think, are very linked. They're kind of two sides of the same coin. I really want to connect with people on a new level. We've been, we're just kind of coming out of lockdown, and I would love to have meaningful connection with people in the area, but also people online. I do have some of you that I write letters to. If you want to write a letter to me, my address is down below. I do write letters. I'm not into emails. It's so hard for me to get in front of a screen and do that. I'm sorry, you guys. Meaningful connection. Looking for connections, not just with people, but with my environment, really paying attention to what's going on with my land, what's going on in my house, like how does it feel? How does the energy feel? How am I connecting with that energy? How's my connection with my family? Even how is my connection with myself? Am I taking the time to create meaningful connection with myself? Is it cultivating within me the peace and joy that I need? Without meaningful connection, we all wither. And so I am really looking for that in my day-to-day life, making sure that that is part of my conscious living. The one thing that I didn't put on here, but is going to be, come on, focus, is going to be on my list next year, and it'll be going right here. I left a space for it. I just didn't print it off, is use what you have. More of using what you have. And this for me is environmentally related. It's financial related. So let's use the resources that I have. Like most of these were books that I had laying around already. I wanted to use them. I didn't want to get into the idea that a new book or a new journal would be the thing. Use what I have, use the resources that I have. And in so doing, I'm going to avoid a lot of global impact. I'm going to avoid a lot of financial impact. I want to get good at using what's around me and utilizing what's around me, really valuing the things that I have and making the most of what I have. And that's linked to gratitude. But again, I didn't want to make it about less. I wanted to make it about more. Using more of what I have. Financial abundance. Financial abundance. This was a hard one for me to put on there. I don't know how many of you struggle with doing some kind of spiritual thing for work and being financially abundant, but there is some kind of stinky rotten message about the idea that if you read tarot for a living, or if you sell courses on spiritual or magical practices, that you can't make money. And it's really just BS. So this year I really want to be delving into financial abundance, and making sure that I am unearthing where these idiotic ideas came from and the blockages and mindsets that I have been embracing that have kept me from moving forward in that area. It's really big. It's really, really big. So, I feel like this one is something that will continue to unfold, and it's probably the most difficult thing on my list to consciously engage with, because it feels really big and just difficult to untangle, but it is on my list for the year. So I want more financial abundance, and I want to really explore what that means to me and how I feel about getting there, and more flow. Last but not least is flow. Flow, magical flow, physical flow, energetic flow, financial flow, creative flow, connective flow. Where is the flow? What am I flowing in? This is the year of the Chariot. I actually have a video up on that on my other channel. Actually, I think I have to go like that to get it there. On my other channel, I have the Chariot for 2023 as our card of the year. And so it is really about momentum this year, gaining momentum and understanding where flow is. Where's the flow within us? How can we channel that flow? What are we personally doing to get ourselves from point A to point B, whether that's spiritually or physically or financially or mentally or relationally, whatever that is. It is about really directing flow in our lives. Let me know what your word of the year is down below. And also, I'd love suggestions on how you do things in your grimoires, or any special books that you love on folklore, like magical folklore. May your day be blessed. May your year be blessed. May the word that rises up in your heart to guide you through this time and into your life be one that is fruitful and creates momentum and flow.